Vivid verses.
I knew the fundamentals were weak. I just didn't realize the asset was toxic until the dinner at Le Jardin. 2 weeks before the termination event, we were at that restaurant. You know the place. It's designed for people who take photos of food rather than people who eat it. The acoustics amplify the treble frequencies of fake laughter. The tables are jammed together to maximize cover counts. And the markup on the wine list is aggressive, even for this zip code. We were with Mike and Sarah. I've known Mike since we were associates. He works in enterprise software sales. He's a closer. You can tell because he wears a watch that is too large for his wrist and costs more than the equity in his condo. He talks about his quota like he's storming the beaches of Normandy. I've run the numbers on guys like Mike 1,000 times. They have high cash flow, massive overhead, and zero liquidity. If he missed a commission check, he'd be insolvent in 30 days. He is leverage personified. Monica, however, thinks Mike is generous. She confuses reckless spending with solvency. She equates velocity with stability. The dinner was a masterclass in inefficiency. Mike held court. He talked about his numbers, his club membership, his upcoming trip to Cabo. He ordered for the table without asking preferences, a dominance display. He sent the wine back because it was corked. It wasn't corked. I tasted it. It was a perfectly adequate 2018 Bordeaux. Mike just wanted to see the sommelier apologize. He wanted to exert control over the service staff to demonstrate value to the table. Monica was entranced. She wasn't looking at me. She was watching Mike perform. She was laughing at jokes that weren't funny because they were delivered with the volume of a man who doesn't believe consequences apply to him. Then the bill came. It was heavy. We'd done the tasting menu, 3 bottles of the Bordeaux, and a round of grappa that nobody drank. I had my card in my hand. My Amex is metal, scratched, and unassuming. It pays off every month. I was ready to split it down the middle. That is the standard operating procedure for a dinner among peers. Mike didn't just pay. He performed. He snatched the folio out of the waiter's hand. He intercepted it like a linebacker. "Put away, Adrian," Mike boomed. "On me, boys. Bankers need to save their pennies for the bonus pool, right?" He looked at me and winked. It was a challenge. He was framing my financial discipline as weakness and his lack of impulse control as strength. The table laughed. That was the data point I needed. Monica laughed the loudest. She looked at me, and for a microsecond, her expression wasn't amusement. It was pity. She was apologizing to the group for my prudence. I didn't say anything. There is no upside to correcting a man posturing for his wife. I put my card away. When the receipt came back, I watched Mike sign. He didn't tip 20%. He tipped 30. He wanted to be the king of the table. I checked the math in my head. He just spent nearly $1,000 to buy 60 minutes of dominance. On the ride home, the cabin of the Audi was quiet. I was running through the week's bond yields, thinking about a merger in the APAC region that was going to require me to be on a call at 4 a.m. The silence in the car wasn't peaceful. It was pressurized. Monica broke it. She didn't look at me. She stared out the window at the passing streetlights. "It was so embarrassing, Adrian," she said. I checked the mirrors. Traffic was light. What was? Mike paid for everyone without blinking, and you sat there calculating the tip. You work at a bank, for God's sake. You act so poor. Why can't you be a big shot for once? It makes me look bad that you're so stingy. I merged into the right lane. The accusation was factually incorrect. I hadn't calculated the tip. I had observed Mike overpaying it. But the core of her complaint wasn't about math. It was about status. She wanted the performance. She wanted the flash. She wanted me to be Mike, but with my balance sheet. I kept my voice flat. I didn't look at her. In my line of work, if you get emotional during a negotiation, you lose. Mike lives on credit. I live on assets, I said. I am building wealth, not the appearance of it. I will not jeopardize our future to impress people I don't respect. If you prioritize flash over stability, you're looking at the wrong man. My confidence comes from my ledger, not my spending. I waited. Usually, this is the part where the partner realizes the logic holds up. You expect a concession. You expect her to realize that Mike is a liability and I am a fortress. She didn't speak. The silence wasn't a retreat. It was a retrenchment. She felt foolish. People hate feeling foolish, and they hate the person who witnessed it even more. I could feel the air pressure in the car drop. She realized that shaming me about money is like shouting at a vault door. It doesn't open, and it doesn't care. For the next 2 weeks, the apartment operated like a Cold War buffer zone. We coexisted. We maximized distance. I observed her behavior closely during this period. It was a stress test. She began making small, unnecessary purchases. New throw pillows. A coffee maker we didn't need because the old one worked perfectly. She bought expensive scented candles. Joe Malone, $80 a pop, and burned them in rooms she wasn't even in. She was trying to exert control over the environment, trying to prove that she could spend without my permission. She was probing the defenses, looking for a reaction. I didn't comment on them. I simply noted the line items on the joint account statement. I categorized them mentally, depreciating assets purchased for emotional leverage. I worked late, legitimately, not as an avoidance tactic, though the efficiency of the office was preferable to the tension at home. The APAC deal, which we called Project Redline, was closing, and the due diligence had turned up some irregularities in the target company's pension fund. I was deep in the weeds of actuarial tables, looking for hidden debt. The target company had underfunded their obligations by 40%, masking it with projected growth rates that were statistically impossible. It was ironic. I was dealing with the exact same problem at work as I was at home. A partner trying to hide a deficit behind a flashy presentation. It was Tuesday when the crash happened. I came home at 7:30 p.m. I was depleted. I wanted a steak, a glass of water, and silence. I walked in. The hallway was cluttered, not with the usual mail or shoes, but with obstacles. Monica was standing by the door. She had her coat on, the camel trench I bought her last Christmas. Her overnight bag, the leather weekender, was on the floor. It was packed full. She wasn't crying. She looked defiant. She was waiting for a reaction. She wanted the scene. She wanted the beat-by-beat drama where I blocked the door and begged her to stay. "I'm leaving," she said. I stopped. I put my briefcase down on the console table. I looked at the bag. Then I looked at her. I assessed the situation. If she was leaving, the logistics were straightforward. The lease is in my name. The furniture is mine, acquired before she moved in. Her name is on the utility bill for proof of residence purposes, which would need to be transferred. We have a joint account for household expenses with a balance of roughly $4,000. I could transfer my share out within 2 minutes on my phone. There was no sadness. There was only a rapid calculation of the unwind process. "Okay," I said. "Okay," she repeated. "I respect your decision," I said. "I'll forward your mail to your mother's until you find a permanent address. Send me the new details when you have them." I didn't move toward her. I didn't raise my voice. I treated it like a resignation letter from a mid-level analyst. Accepted. Processed. Next. She stared at me. The defiance in her eyes wavered. She looked at her bag, then back at me. The script wasn't running correctly. I wasn't fighting. I wasn't negotiating. I was accepting the terms of the deal she just put on the table. She let out a short, sharp laugh. It sounded brittle. She kicked the bag. It slid across the hardwood floor and hit the wall. "Oh my God, Adrian, you're such a robot." She took her coat off and threw it onto the bench. "I wasn't actually leaving," she said, her voice pitching up, gaining speed. "I was testing you to see if you'd fight for me. The fact that you just let me go proves you don't love me." You failed the test, so now you need to make it up to me. She crossed her arms. She smiled, but it was a tight, nervous smile. She thought she had pulled the ripcord and reset the dynamic. She thought she had proven I was emotionally deficient, and therefore, I now owed her a debt of affection. I looked at the bag against the wall. Then I looked at the coat on the bench. The logic shifted instantly. 10 seconds ago, she was a partner leaving the partnership. That is a manageable loss. Now, she was a partner admitting to fraud. She was manipulating the market of our relationship to artificially inflate her value. She was introducing volatility on purpose to test my risk tolerance. In banking, if a counterparty fakes a default to see if you'll panic, you don't do business with them again. Ever. You blackball them. I felt a clarity that was absolute. I walked over to the bag. I picked it up. It wasn't heavy. She probably hadn't even packed essentials, just enough bulk to sell the visual. I opened the front door. "What are you doing?" she asked. The smile dropped. I stepped into the hallway. The carpet out, there is industrial grade, gray, and depressing. I set the bag down gently next to the doorframe. I didn't throw it. I didn't damage the asset. I just relocated it. I stepped back inside. "I don't participate in tests, Monica," I said. She stood frozen in the entryway. The reality of the logistics was starting to hit her. "I participate in commitments," I told her. "When you threatened to leave, you introduced instability into my life. I don't invest in volatility. You didn't bluff me. You show me your cards." The relationship ended when you packed that bag. "Adrian, stop," she said. She took a step forward. "I was joking. It's a thing people do." "It's not a thing I do," I said. I reached for the door handle. She rushed the gap. She wasn't aggressive. She was desperate. She realized she had over-leveraged her position. She tried to jam her foot in the door, but I was already closing it. Not with a slam. A slam is emotional. A slam implies I'm angry. I wasn't angry. I was finished. I closed it with a firm, final click. The latch engaged. "But I didn't mean it," she cried from the other side. The wood is thick, solid oak, but her voice came through shrill and panic-stricken. "I know," I said, leaning close to the crack so I wouldn't have to shout. "But I do." I turned the deadbolt. The metal slid into place with a heavy thunk. I stood there for a moment. I listened. She pounded on the door once, then stopped. She was likely processing the shock, or perhaps realizing that making a scene in the hallway would damage her reputation with the neighbors more than it would damage mine. I walked to the kitchen. The apartment was quiet. It was the same silence as the car ride, but cleaner. The liability was off the books. The immediate write-down was painful. Sure, nobody likes to lose 2 years of time, but the long-term projection just improved drastically. I took my phone out. Step 1, cancel the joint card. I opened the app. Freeze card. Done. If you try to book a hotel room on our shared credit, it would decline. This wasn't malice. It was security. I cannot have an unauthorized user carrying a line of credit attached to my social security number. Step 2, change the Wi-Fi password. Step 3, email the concierge to revoke her key card access effective immediately. I drafted it carefully. Please note that Ms. Monica S. is no longer a resident of Unit 4B. Please remove her fob access. Any attempt to enter should be directed to the front desk. I poured a glass of water. My phone lit up. It was Sarah. Of course. The network was activating. Monica had called tech support. I didn't answer. I put the phone face down. I went into the bedroom. It smelled like her perfume, a scent that used to mean comfort and now meant depreciation. I went to the closet. I pulled out a box of heavy-duty trash bags. I didn't start throwing things away. That's amateur. That creates liability. I packed. I cleared her side of the vanity. Lotions, serums, hair clips. I looked at the bottles. La Mer, Drunk Elephant SK2. Hundreds of dollars of product half used. Sunk costs. I placed them into a bag, tied it, and labeled it bathroom. I cleared her drawers. Clothes. I cleared her nightstand. Miscellaneous. I stacked the bags by the door. By 9 p.m., the apartment was no longer ours. It was mine, holding a collection of foreign objects waiting for export. I ordered a steak. I ate it at the island alone. The food tasted excellent. The next morning, the fallout began in earnest. This is the part people don't talk about. The breakup isn't the event. The breakup is the administration that follows. I woke up at 5 a.m. I went for a run. When I returned, George, the concierge, stopped me. He looked uncomfortable. "Sir, Ms. Monica was here last night. She was distressed. She tried to go up. And I followed your instructions, Mr. Cross. I told her she wasn't on the list. She made a bit of a scene in the lobby. Mike picked her up. Mike, of course. She went to the nearest source of validation. Thank you, George. I appreciate your discretion." I handed him a $100 bill. A gratuity for enforcing security protocols is a sound investment. I want to work. The APAC deal was on my desk. I picked up the red pen. I circled the pension liability. I wrote one word in the margin: untenable. I recommended we kill the deal. The partners agreed. We walked away from a billion-dollar deal because the foundational numbers were rotten. It was the only logical choice. Around 11 a.m., my personal cell rang. It was Mike. I let it go to voicemail. He called again immediately. Then a text: "Pick up the phone, man. Don't be a douche." I finished my spreadsheet. Then I called him back. "Adrian," he said, his voice loud, probably on speakerphone in his car. "What the hell are you doing? Monica is at our place. She's a wreck." "She's free to be a wreck," I said. "She's just not free to be a wreck in my apartment. You kicked her out because of a joke? Come on, bro. You can't just treat a girl like that. She was testing you. Girls do that. You gotta play the game." "I don't play games, Mike. I manage risk." She threatened to leave. I accepted her resignation. "You sound like a sociopath," Mike said. "She loves you. She's crying her eyes out here. You need to come over here, apologize for locking her out, and bring her home. Be a man." "Let me explain something to you, Mike," I said. I swiveled my chair to look out the window at the skyline. "You think being a man is about fixing messes you didn't create. You think it's about paying for dinner to look rich. You operate on the sunk cost fallacy. You think because you've put time into something, you have to keep investing even when the returns go negative." "I don't know what the hell you're talking about," Mike said. "I know," I said. "That's why you lease your car. Monica is your guest now. Enjoy the hospitality costs." I hung up. The next 3 weeks were masterclass in logistics. Monica didn't give up immediately. She shifted tactics. First came the apologies. Long, rambling texts about how she was scared and insecure and just wanted to feel wanted. I didn't reply to the emotions. I replied to the logistics. "Monica, I just miss you so much. I can't believe you're throwing this away over one fight. Me, please let me know a time window when you can have movers collect your belongings. They are currently staged in the foyer. Monica, you can't be serious. We need to talk. Me, the separation is non-negotiable. I will hold your items until Friday. After that, I will pay to have them put in storage in your name." She tried to show up at the bank. Security stopped her in the lobby. I didn't go down. I had my assistant, calm and professional, go down and hand her an envelope containing the transfer receipt for her share of the joint account and a list of movers I recommended. It was cold, maybe, but warmth acts as a signal of pliability. If I showed warmth, she would interpret it as an opening to renegotiate. I had no interest in renegotiating a contract that had been violated in bad faith. I hired a moving company to transport her things to her mother's house. I paid for the premium service, white glove, insured. I wanted a paper trail proving that her assets were returned in perfect condition. No claims for damages. The social circle rupture was immediate. Mutual friends are like shareholders. When a split happens, they vote with their feet. Monica launched a PR campaign. She spun the narrative. I was the cold-hearted banker who threw a woman onto the street in the middle of the night. She omitted the part about the fake packing, the manipulation, the test. She sold the emotional headline, not the factual article. I lost 3 couples from our social rotation. The Millers, the Davidsons, and of course, Mike and Sarah. I audited the losses. The Millers were always late to dinner and forgot their wallets. The Davidsons were constantly asking for investment advice that was really just asking for permission to gamble on crypto. Mike and Sarah we've covered. The friends who stayed, the ones who called me and said, "I heard what happened. You okay?" Jim, who runs a construction firm and understands structural integrity. Elena, a corporate lawyer who deals in facts. Robert, my mentor at the bank. The quality of my social circle increased as the quantity decreased. It was a consolidation of high-value stock. I realized how much of my living space had been colonized. It wasn't just the bathroom. It was the visual field. She liked clutter. Knickknacks, she called them. Small, decorative items with no function. I spent a Saturday purging. If it didn't have a purpose or a significant aesthetic value that I appreciated, it went. I replaced the throw pillows she bought. I bought a new coffee maker, a Technivore Moccamaster. It is ugly, industrial, and makes the best coffee on earth. It doesn't have a timer or a froth setting. It heats water and pours it over grounds. It is one thing perfectly. It was a metaphor for the new regime. I started dating my ledger again. I poured my energy into the bank. I was promoted to managing director 3 months later. The partners cited my exceptional risk assessment capabilities and unwavering focus. 6 months post-liquidation, I ran into Mike. I was at an airport lounge, waiting for a flight to Zurich. I was flying first class, paid for by the firm. Mike was at the bar. He looked tired. His suit was wrinkled. He wasn't wearing the big watch. He saw me. He hesitated, then walked over. The swagger was gone. "Adrian," he said. "Mike." I didn't stand up. I gestured to the empty chair. "Sit." He sat. He ordered a beer. "How are things?" I asked. He let out a sigh that sounded like air escaping a tire. "Rough, man. Sales are down. The sector is taking a beating. Missed quota 2 quarters in a row." "Sorry to hear that," I said. "Sarah left," he said. He took a long drink. I wasn't surprised. When, last month, said she couldn't handle the stress. We're upside down on the condo. The lease on the M5 is killing me. She found some guy in hedge funds. Go figure. He looked at me. "You were right, you know." "About what?" "About the assets. About the stability. Monica, she's dating some promoter now. Guy runs a club downtown. She calls me sometimes complaining that he's never around and he's always broke." He shook his head. "I spent so much money trying to keep Sarah happy, trying to look like the guy she wanted. And the second the cash flow dried up, she was gone." "Hyperinflation of lifestyle," I said. "It's a bubble. Bubbles burst." "Yeah," Mike said. "Bubbles burst." He looked at my suit. He looked at the boarding pass on the table. Zone 1. "You look good, man," he said. "You look calm." "I am," I said. "You ever miss her?" he asked. "Monica?" I took a sip of my scotch. I thought about the question. Did I miss the idea of her? Sometimes. The human brain is wired for attachment. It's a legacy system, hard to override completely. But did I miss the reality of her? The constant tests? The financial drag? The volatility? "I miss the potential," I said. "But I don't miss the performance." They called my flight. I stood up. I picked up my briefcase. "Good luck, Mike," I said. "Watch your overhead." I walked to the gate. I didn't look back. 2 months later, the market tested the support levels again. I was at a charity gala. The bank buys a table every year. It's a write-off and a networking requirement. I was standing by the bar, discussing interest rates with a client when I saw her. "Monica," She was wearing a dress I recognized. I had paid for it. It was emerald green, silk, cut on the bias. I remember the invoice. She saw me. She froze. Then she mobilized. She walked over. She looked good. She knew she looked good. She was banking on the visual stimulus overriding the logical cortex. "Adrian," she said. "Monica, you look handsome." "Thank you. Can we talk? Just for a second." I checked my watch. I have 2 minutes before I need to be seated. She moved closer. She put a hand on my arm. A tactile breach. "I made a mistake," she said. Her voice was low, intimate. "I was stupid. I listened to Sarah too much. I miss us. I miss this." She gestured to the room, to the chandeliers, to the waiter passing with champagne. She didn't miss me. She missed the access. She missed the gala. She missed the security of the vault. "I've been dating," she said, watching my eyes. "But nobody is like you. They're all children. You're a man." She was trying to use flattery as currency. She was trying to buy back in at the original strike price. I removed her hand from my arm. Gently. "I appreciate the apology. Monica," I said. "Does that mean maybe we could get coffee?" "No." Her face fell. "Why not? People get back together. It happens." "Monica," I said, leaning in slightly, so only she could hear. "You view relationships as a cycle of drama and reconciliation. The high of the fight, the high of the makeup. That is volatility. I'm a low volatility investor. You show me that you are capable of manufacturing a crisis to get a reaction. That is a structural flaw. I don't buy back into structural flaws." "You're so cold," she whispered. "I'm accurate," I said. "Enjoy the party." I walked away. I sat at my table. I ate the rubbery chicken. I drank the mediocre wine. I felt fantastic. It's been a year. I met someone new. Her name is Claire. She's an architect. She deals in structures, in load-bearing walls, in things that last. On our 3rd date, the bill came. I reached for it. "Let's split it," she said. "I've got it," I said. "No," she said. She put her card down. "I prefer to pay my way. Keeps the lines clean." She looked at me. There was no test in her eyes. There was no game. There was just a calm, professional assessment of the situation. I let her split it. We drove home. She drove her own car, a Volvo. Safe. Reliable. Paid for. We were taking it slow. We were looking at the blueprints before we pour the foundation. I don't know if it will work out. There are no guarantees in the market. But the indicators are good. The fundamentals are strong. I'm sitting here now in the apartment. Everything works. The bills are on autopay. The silence is heavy, but it's the weight of gold, not lead. People tell me I'm cold. They say I treat life like a transaction. They say love isn't business. They are wrong. Love is the biggest business there is. It's a merger of 2 corporations. You merge assets, you merge liabilities, you merge reputations. If you don't do your due diligence, if you let emotion override the balance sheet, you end up like Mike, insolvent and alone. I didn't lose Monica. I divested a losing position. The test she pulled that night wasn't a test of my love. It was a test of my self-respect. She wanted to see if I would abandon my dignity to keep her. She wanted to see if I was desperate. I wasn't desperate. I was prepared. Value. You have to know yours. And you have to know when the market is trying to short sell you. When I closed that door, I didn't just lock her out. I locked my peace in. And that is an asset I will never liquidate. And if Claire ever packs a bag and threatens to leave, I won't stop her. Because I know now that the only thing worth keeping is someone who wants to stay. Everything else is just overhead.
Thanks for listening.